I think I'm finally internalized the lesson that you should never cater yourself to the internet or your audience, which I've known for quite a while, but really has cemented itself the past couple days after I've seen some stuff on the internet. Obviously, you know, you should be yourself whenever creating something, but there's always that drag in my mind that I need to constantly explain myself if people don't get something. Or I need to make content so it cannot be misunderstood. But there seems to be always a large population that will read everything on surface level and is not self-aware. This is not a diss at people. Just generally, if you're creating something that is not for the main market, if you're creating something that is meant for people who enjoy and participate in art and have an art sensibility, there will be mistranslation for people who are essentially outsiders, which makes sense. I've said that a couple times. But it's one of those things that logically makes sense, but I don't internalize because emotionally all I want to do is have everyone understand me, and I really hate being misunderstood, and I try to explain myself constantly, but I can never fully get there, it feels like. And even if I get close, it's like fighting an uphill battle that I really shouldn't be fighting, because the people who do get me, at least online, are the people who I should be communicating with, and the ones who are willing to meet me halfway. But essentially what started this is I saw a TikTok a couple days ago, which, you know, that's the biggest mistake right there, is going on TikTok, because, like, I'm gonna sound old, but that site is pretty mean-spirited, all things considered, and I feel like I'm old talking about this, but, you know, even though old internet was mean-spirited, it's like TikTok is in a way where you duet someone and you ratio them and, you know, bully them for being different. There's an account, I'm gonna go ahead and call it out by name because I don't care, and it's gonna show up on screen anyways, so it's not like I'm gonna go through and censor all this. He puts it out in public. I feel like it's free to talk about him, but, you know, I don't think this has to be said, but, you know, don't hate bomb him or something. But I saw this video where he duets this guy, he's 16. Oh yeah, his name, Britain Slander Account. Britain Slander Account is his username. He gets lots of views on a lot of these videos where he'll duet people that he calls like NPCs or, you know, different people. This guy that I saw in my first video on my For You page, I looked at his profile, he's 16, and not to mentally diagnose someone, but he does not seem like he processes things the same way that other people do, like in an autistic way, possibly. He could just be like a different person, but it's one of those things that I look through enough of his videos and he seems like he has a different social understanding of the world in some way, whether that be through something medical like autism or just he's like a different kid, right? The point being, he got duetted by this guy who's just sitting there like looking at the camera, and he wrote in text, "There is no way we live in a simulation, because why would anyone take the time to code this?" And the original video he's duetting is just this guy is like, "Oh, I want head pats from Anya from Spy Family," which is just this, it's a very innocent video, and he's wacky, like, you know, anything involving anime children is like this very taboo thing, understandably so, but he pretends to get like pet on the head by Anya, who's like this, you know, 6-year-old little kid, and the guy is just, you know, making fun of him, and this is one of his most tame videos, I would say. his comments are then filled with like, you know, you're such a weirdo. They're making fun of him for being overweight, having greasy face stuff. People who, by all means, probably are against bullying on the internet, but see this one guy who they deem as weird and, you know, cancelable in some way, and are dogpiling on him. Maybe because of this video, maybe not. It's got a few 100,000 views. One of those things that he could have just blown up either way. But he makes like 12 TikTok videos a day of him like with anime girls, and he's had to turn off comments on some of them. But honestly, I don't think he deserves it. He's just like, people can't see a person and think, oh, they're different, but I don't like that, so I will just leave him alone. They're just like, oh, he's different, which means he's weird, and I have to make fun of him. Which, yeah, he's different. He makes jokes that I don't find funny half the time, but he's 16. And he's just like a guy who, I imagine, based on like, there's this one skit that he has where he's like, makes a mommy milkers joke, and that, the way he delivers it, I'm gonna play it here.
What would you like to drink?
Give me those huge mommy milkers.
Excuse me?
Those jigglies. Jiggle jiggles. You know what I'm talking about. Jiggle jiggles.
It sounds like it's the delivery. I don't know how to explain it. It's something that just kind of like an intuition where it's just like, yeah, he's joking around on his account. He doesn't mean any harm, and people are just bullying him because they don't get him, and he's just trying to do his own thing. Whatever. But the main point of this, I guess, is that the guy who duetted him, Britain Slander account, does this with everything. The views he gets on his videos are all entirely from duetting with series such as Duetting NPCs, which is where he duets people that he calls NPCs because they're so normie, and people who are too normal compared to him. Always at like a 3/4 pose to show off his jawline and like beard, which, like, I get it. Like, he wants to look very attractive in his videos, but it is the same pose. He never says anything in his videos. If you look at the screen, his mouth is constantly closed. He just sits there and looks at the camera judgmentally, and it's just like, gotta duet the NPCs, show how cringy they are. As people are just making like songs that are mainstream, and they are kind of cringy, some of them, but like, that's not the point. He just duets these people constantly. He has like part 20, part 22. This is how he makes like his popularity, which thankfully he's not super popular. He only has like 3,000 followers or something like that. But he will duet people. There's another one, duetting reasons why we need to fund the American education system. And it's someone just saying, wow, Colorado is not all mountains. It's really flat, which is surprising to me, basically. And so he makes fun of him like, wow, you didn't know that? Same 3/4 pose of him lying down or sitting at a table with text over his head, just making fun of these people, right? For either being dumb or doing something that he thinks is cringy. Which, ironically, I think this is probably the most cringe account I think I've ever seen. Because he just does the stupid fucking 3/4 thing, even in his own, like, original memes. Like, he has one that didn't get any reaction because it's not funny, where it's just, like, his stupid 3/4 face again, where he's just showing off his chin, and then it just says, imagine explaining the concept of a grown man using a finsta to King Leonidas, which is just like, that's a joke, if you don't know, that's been made on TikTok probably 200,000 times, where it's like, someone will comment, imagine showing this to a, like, medieval child in England or whatever, and it's like, yeah, they wouldn't process what happens in modern times the same way we do. That's crazy. It's first couple times it's like an original thing. After that, it's just you're copying someone else and templating your humor to try to appeal to a crowd. And this has no soul whatsoever. He didn't act out anything like these people he criticizes. He's 21, by the way, so he's way past the age where, like, this is socially expected or even, like, I wouldn't even say acceptable, but it's like this man is basically out of college at that age. He is in the working world almost in terms of, like, you know, if he went through a college education system kind of thing. Way past the age of, like, making fun of people for being different. But what's weird to me is anyone who is slightly to the left of him, like on a graph of like normal to weird, air quote, anyone slightly to the left of him is like NPC. He will call out as NPC, unfunny, duet, where he just has the stupid fucking 3/4 facing chin, where he looks at the camera and like shows off his chin. It's the dumbest fucking thing. But then if anyone's slightly to the right of him and is more weird than him, he'll call them out as cringy and like we're living in a simulation kind of stuff. People that like he can't understand because they're too weird for him. He makes no effort to understand the people around him, essentially, that deviate from him on like creativeness or humor, which wouldn't be that big of a deal if it was just him, but these videos get hundreds of thousands of likes and views, so it's not like an uncommon sentiment. Even looking at the comments, it's a very similar sentiment, which concerns me, but it makes me, you know, realize don't worry about appealing to the masses, because it's like groupthink, where they just, anything that's different is just weird, and they will make fun of it, and you cannot avoid that, because some people will make no effort to understand what you're making, and will make it very publicly known that they do not like your content. Like, if this guy, because this is kind of like a air quote call out post, but I'm not afraid of this kind of a person, because all he would do is put his face at 3/4 of an angle, the same stupid pose with his face, and then he put text above his head that says, reacting to obsessed people part 87. And it's just like, fucking who cares? He has no creative bones in his body. Because whenever he tries, it comes out like the most templated, trying to fit in shit. Which I think is the antithesis of creativity. Overall point just being, people like this exist. A lot of people agree with this sentiment according to likes and comments, and, you know, don't worry about like appealing to people with your art. Make your art accessible, but don't worry about it being universally like understood, which is something that I mentally understood, but did not internalize, and probably still won't entirely internalize after this. But I really had like a sit down at like, you know, 11 at night thinking about this, and I thought it was important to share. He also, by the way, made a TikTok where he sees some street art that says, like, has a handle on it that says at Nigel Sussman, you know, with S, with like 2 S's, Sussman, like it's just some guy's last name. And then he captioned it with Nigel Whatman, which is, this is the only video that doesn't have his face at like 3/4 profile, because he probably realized how fucking stupid it'd look if he just had his face covering half the video and like tried to bend down towards this thing. He probably couldn't get a good angle. But he just makes an Among Us joke like 3 years into it, which is like, this is something that you would like joke about with your friends and just be like, haha, whatever, what man? And then like you, like, that's the most it would do, and get like an annoyed groan or half chuckle out of someone, I feel like. But he posted this as like his content on TikTok, and then even a couple comments that somehow saw this, because this didn't get nearly as many views, were just like, this is something that you would duet and say NPCs part whatever. So he ironically is the thing that he hates most, which I think is very fitting for this person. But yeah, just in general, the idea was, and I know this is ironic that I'm explaining the point of the video that I'm making to make sure I'm understood, where the lesson is that I don't always need to be understood, but just as like a wrap up, don't worry about these kinds of people. A lot of them are out there. You can make your content, you know, let's say like Mr. Beast, where you appeal to everyone because everyone likes money and everyone likes big extravagant things like cargo into wall boom boom. Subscribe and win $10,000, which his content is fine. I'm not getting into that. Hey, he's very successful, great at what he does and all that. But if you don't want to go that route and commit all the way, then why take away any of your uniqueness as a creator and try to appeal to these people? Because there will be at least some of them who don't get you and will call you weird and gross and like NPC behavior for expressing yourself. Even if it sounds corporate, like whatever. It's like, if it's what you want to make, then make it, because people will always misunderstand you, but it's fine, because the people who your art reaches will appreciate it way more than the people who are apathetic to it and don't get it and just want something to punch down on.